ego and
The thing
other
about
words.
ego is that it's not all bad. A lot of people hear the word ego. You have such a big ego, and they immediately jump to, why are you attacking me? And that's because people don't understand what the ego is about. And quite honestly, in my opinion, I think it's interesting because I took a psychology class in high school. I don't know if everybody does, but you know, I learned a lot about psychology in high school, and I've learned a lot since then. But you know what I mean? The ego is not entirely bad. It is the thing that protects us in this crazy world. If you didn't have an ego, you would just be a blob of energy, basically, just moving around doing whatever, you know, at the mercy of whatever other people want for you, you know. But we do have egos, we do have personal desires. The problem becomes when you overly identify with your ego, when you overly identify with your identity. It becomes a problem when you think to yourself, I am a doctor, and that fact makes me more of who I am. You know what I mean? It's like, what if you got fired today? Are you still not a healer? You know what I mean? Like, the ego tells us that because we are in this position, we are important. And it's like, a lot of people have a problem with like understanding that you should feel important regardless of whether or not you're a doctor. You know what I mean? I guess there is something to be said about spiritual gifts though, and like how people can become depressed when they're not operating out of their gifts and whatnot, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is about ego, so. Okay, so I'm not judging, but I literally just had this guy ride past me on a bike, yelling, or singing a rap. I don't know what he was doing, but he was making some sort of sounds with his mouth. And I think that would be the perfect example of ego, quite honestly. Once again, no fucking judgment, it just is what it is. And quite honestly, ego is why a lot of people, including myself, feel like men are evil, because a lot of men are taught to lead with their ego. They're not taught to necessarily think about other people if it doesn't benefit them. It's unfortunate, and it is a very important truth, that in this reality, you do have to put yourself first to some degree, yes. But the problem becomes when we put ourselves first and we don't even consider the people around us, you know? We're blasting our music because we're putting ourselves first. We don't really care how other people feel about it. You know, we're changing the channel because we want to change, you know what I mean? That's when it becomes a problem, you know? And I think it's very possible to be in that energy and also just have the extra awareness that like, oh yeah, there are other people that exist, you know? I don't know. We all have soul gifts, we all have abilities that we can tap into, and more often than not, when we do not tap into these gifts, when we neglect these gifts, we become depressed, we become sad, you know what I mean? We feel like we have no purpose. And you know, we can argue about it, we can go back and forth, you can feel however you feel personally, whoever's watching this. But I believe that that's the truth. Like when we do not align with our spirit, when we do not take the time to connect with that part of ourselves, we feel empty, we feel lost, you know? And then the further away you get from it, the more logical it seems that like maybe that's just all it is, you know, because you're already disconnected, you know? So bottom line, don't overly identify with your ego, but also remember that your ego is important to some degree, you know? And don't forget that you're literally fucking magical, man. Like, do you not know that? Do you not know that you're literally fucking magical? Like, just as you are in this current state that you're watching this video, you're fucking amazing. And I'm not trying to hype you up for the egomaniacs out there. This is not for you. This is not for you. But you know what I mean? Okay, bye.